Before the Iran nuclear deal knocked it off the front pages, a rule change pushed through by Senate Democrats was getting a lot of media attention and criticism. Dubbed the nuclear option, the rule changes the threshold for approving some of the White House's judicial and executive appointments, from 60 votes to a simple majority. According to some media accounts, this represented an epic and dramatic rewriting of the country's political code. Washington makes history with a new low, said CBS anchor Scott Pelley, who went on to call it an historic breach. NBC anchor Brian Williams told viewers that just when you thought it couldn't get worse in Washington, it did. But the more important breach would be the regular use of the filibuster by Senate Republicans. As many of these media accounts get around to mentioning, the GOP has decided to block judicial confirmations because they don't want judges to fill vacant seats on some key courts. The rule change is, if anything, a response to this, an actually unprecedented move to change how the democratic process works. Over recent years, media coverage has shifted from treating the 60-vote requirement as a change in how the Senate works to the way things are just done. Many pundits are worried that this rule change will make partisanship much worse in Washington. But a more clear-headed assessment would be that this was not so much an act of extreme partisanship as a reaction to extreme partisanship.
And speaking of the filibuster, George Will, the dean of conservative punditry, is fond of striking a moral pose and appealing to principle. In reality, a person could get whiplash trying to follow Will's unprincipled and hypocritical views. Appearing on Fox News' special report on November 21st, Will was sad that Senate Democrats had taken away the right of Senate minorities to use the filibuster to block presidential, judicial, and executive appointments. It was a melancholy day for American life, said Will. Quote, "It diminishes minority rights, which are always a threat in a democracy where majorities rule." Close quote. Like many Republicans and conservatives, Will was singing a different tune 10 years ago when Democrats were in the Senate minority. Then the filibuster was an outrage. The notion that 41 Senate Democrats might succeed in blocking a Bush judicial nominee was, as Will put it, a coup against the Constitution. And 10 years before that, when a Republican Senate minority filibustered Bill Clinton's economic stimulus plan, Will was all for it, praising, quote, "the right of a minority to use extended debate to obstruct Senate action," close quote, and cheering the generation that wrote and ratified the Constitution for properly establishing, quote, "the Senate's permissive tradition regarding extended debates," close quote. Will dismissed liberal critics who frowned on the minority veto. In short, Will supports the filibuster when it empowers a Republican Senate minority and opposes it when it empowers a Democratic Senate minority. Like Groucho Marx, Will has his principles, and if you don't like them, he has others.